In this episode, we are in the middle of travelling around Mexico. We start in Mexico City, the capital of Mexico. We take you for a walking tour all around Mexico City, including the Zocalo and to the most famous visited museum in Mexico, the Anthropology Museum, with its thousands of artefacts. We tell you about one of our favourite cities, Puebla. It is so quaint and interesting, and we also take you up a very steep hill to a spectacular basilica that is one of the nicest we've seen anywhere. Come with us as we walk through Puebla and tell you just how pretty it is. Next, we travel to Oaxaca City, known for its food and culture, where we actually try the famous mole and enjoy the fabulous town square. We visit Monte Alban archaeological site, which was just fascinating and a wonderful way to spend my birthday. From Oaxaca, we drive to Tehuantepec via another ancient site and a mezcal brewery. Stick around to the end to hear one of the things we did that we both weren't that interested in, and in fact I was going to stay on the bus, but it turned out to be one of the most interesting things that we've done so far. And also at the end of this episode, we give you a rundown or a quick summary of the tour, ins and outs so far. So enjoy our week travelling through Mexico. Cheers! And welcome to the Beach Travel Wine Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Leanne.
And I'm Lyle, and this is the travel podcast for beach-loving, wine-drinking couples over 50.
So if that sounds like you, grab yourself a drink, sit back, relax and listen as we go travelling the world, one wine at a time.
Cheers.
Hola, mi amor.
Hola, Leonita. Buenos dias.
Buenos dias. So we are sitting in our hotel room in San Cristobal de las Casas.
See?
And we're a few days late doing our podcast, but that won't matter. We're going to get it done today. And we're going to tell you about our first week in Mexico, right? From Mexico City all the way to Tehuantepec, I think, and everything along the way. Hey.
Yes.
Yeah.
See.
It's been a pretty, interesting, full-on, fun, exhausting week. And, so we're really keen to tell you all about it. But first, as we do, Lyle is going to tell us a little bit more about just the Mexican history and location and things like that, aren't you, Dom?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mexico has a population of 126.7 million.
Yep.
It fits into Australia 4 times. So in other words, it's a quarter of the size of Australia. There's 31 states in Mexico, so they've got a federal government, they've got state governors, and they've also got local...
so like ours, really?
So it's very similar to ours, really. Yeah, so the history. Okay. Mexico City was originally called Tenochtitlan.
Well done.
Yes, I've been practicing that for about 10 minutes. Now, what it was founded by the Aztecs, and legend has it that a god had a vision from one of the gods, and it said that he should look for a
place.
Well, a site, a
symbol,
place.
A
symbol
where there was
an eagle
eating a serpent
on a cactus.
Right.
Anyway,
and when they found that would be where the capital of Mexico should be.
Yeah, the capital of the next Aztec.
Yeah.
So they lived as land, and it took them 100 years to find it, and the image was...
And then one day, magically...
Yeah, and it turned out to be on a lake.
Right.
So the whole of Mexico, the modern Mexico City, is built on a lake.
Yeah, fascinating, isn't it?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then basically, so that's how that all started, and then of course along came the Spaniards, Herman Cortez. Now he conquered Mexico in 1521. 2 years after they landed near the modern day city of Veracruz. The swift conquest of Mexico was made possible by the armies of native Mexicans, enemies of the Aztecs. So the Aztecs were pretty nasty people.
So you had the Aztecs and the non-Aztecs,
Yeah.
and so the non-Aztecs sided with the Spanish to beat the Aztecs. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically, because the Aztecs were basically cruel, and they were expecting taxes from all the other indigenous people, and they were also making them slaves, and also they were using them as human sacrifices. So, of course, along comes this
Spanish.
Yeah, Spanish, who they thought was a god.
Okay.
And
saved them from the Aztecs.
He convinced them to join him, and they eventually beat the Aztecs, and so that's what happened there. And then probably another couple of significant things that happened along that was the Mexican War of Independence, which was from 1810 to 1821, and basically it was the locals, indigenous people, rising up against the loyalist Spanish.
Okay.
And Spain ruled Mexico for about 300 years. And what happened there is that because Spain at that time was having trouble with one particular Frenchman called Napoleon Bonaparte, they weren't that. Well, they just didn't have the resources to...
The capacity to worry about it.
Yeah, capacity to worry about it. So therefore, the indigenous people got back their country. And then the next probably significant thing was the American War.
Yeah.
And that was based over a fight over Texas.
Okay, and then Americans got Texas, didn't they?
Yeah, American got Texas and
part
California and that sort of thing. And
so Mexico was reduced in size.
Yeah, and you look back now and think if they had been able to keep that, how different Mexico would have been.
Right.
Yeah, so
that's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so Spain, under the rule of Isabella II, recognised the independence of Mexico in 1836.
Cool. All right, so that's a brief history for you. There'll be more history in our next episode because we're going to talk about the Mayan culture, where we're heading over to the Yucatan Peninsula. But let's start in Mexico City. So we arrived after quite a long flight in Mexico City in our hotel, which is in a fabulous location right on the Zocalo. Now, Zocalo is the Spanish name or the Mexican name for main square. And it was a Hotel Majestic, and it was built in 1937, and it had a rooftop restaurant where we had dinner and also breakfast with fabulous views of the Zocalo. On our first day, though, we got together with our group at 8:30, and there was about 25 people, and our guide, so got some great info there. The group was varied in ages, from about 84, one guy, Franz, down to a young lady in her mid-20s travelling with her parents. So it's quite a wide range, wasn't there?
Yeah, it's a mixed group.
Then we headed off for our tour around the Zocalo, the main square, where we got told all about the Parliament House there, and the cathedral, and the Aztec city of Tenochtitlan, which it used to be. Yeah.
Yep.
But the Zocalo is huge. It's one of the world's largest squares, and I've got some really great photos of it and videos. So on our website at beachtravelwine.com, go and check out the photos, and also in the Instagram story highlights, there's some videos showing a view of the morning of the Zocalo from up high and a view at night. So it's really cool.
Well, I think that the only thing could compete with the size of the Zocalo is the size of the flag inside the middle of the Zocalo. Yeah, it's huge.
Because it's 220 by 240 metres, so, and as I said, it's one of the world's largest. So, but right there's the Metropolitan Cathedral of the Assumption of the Most Blessed Virgin Mary, which is pretty amazing. Name, and the cathedral. So we went to have a look in that, didn't we? It's the biggest in Mexico, that cathedral, and it's just your normal over decorated, beautiful, painted
Spanish cathedral.
But it was built in sections from 1573 to 1813, and as we were mentioning before, how Mexico City was founded, the site of it was on a lake. The cathedral's one of the buildings that's suffering because of that now, isn't it? It's sort of sinking in one corner a bit.
Yeah, it's amazing. Basically, everywhere you look, the city's sinking. I mean, you know, it really does give competition to the Leaning Tower of Pisa. The whole of the city is sinking.
So right there on the Zocalo is the cathedral, and then right next door is the Templo Mayor. Which,
in fact, the cathedral was built on the top of the temple, or Templo Mayor.
Yeah, there's still a fair bit of the ruins there.
Yeah.
So you want to tell us a bit about the Templo Mayor?
Yeah, the construction of the Templo Mayor began sometime after 1325, and it was rebuilt 6 times. The temple was destroyed by the Spanish in 1521, and the Mexican City Cathedral was built in its place. Yeah, so...
and I've got a really nice photo of this. There's a serpent, and you can see the shape of the serpent and the serpent's head, carved out of stone, which is one of the entrances to the original Templo Mayor, I think. But,
it was dedicated simultaneous to the gods of war and the god of rain and agriculture. Yeah. Each of which had a shrine at the top of the pyramid with a separate staircase. Yeah. The central spike was devoted to the wind god. The wind god, yeah. So you can wander around that, and our guide gave us lots of information to take in, which was great. And then we wandered to see some Diego Rivera's murals. Now, Diego Rivera's is one of Mexico City and Mexico's, best loved sons, right? He was an artist, and for me, I knew him because he was married to Frida Kahlo, because I learned a lot about her. Twice, actually, I didn't know that. But yeah, he's done some amazing murals all over Mexico City. There's, lots of locations. But the one we went to have a look at was at the Secretaría de Educación, or no? Sí, Pública.
That's right. And that's like a 3-story building, isn't it?
Yeah, it was an old convent.
Right, that's why it's got the big square in the middle with the garden and stuff. Beautiful building.
And it is absolutely spectacular.
So on every level, there's murals all the way.
Yeah, all the way. Yeah. The first level includes murals that depict life in different regions of Mexico. They
are beautiful. There's 4 meters, maybe 3 meters high. The colours are gorgeous. Some of them, they're like earthy colours, like when he's doing the agricultural, and then he's got some beautiful ladies, obviously in the beach areas. I've got some beautiful photos of those as well.
Yeah, the murals reflect popular and religious traditions, as well as the lives of labourers and agricultural workers. And he was a bit of a naughty boy.
Yeah, he was a player.
Yeah, he was a player, but he was also a communist. Right. And he stirred up a bit of shit. Pardon.
But they loved him.
Oh yeah,
But his artwork was spectacular, wasn't it?
It's a real eye opener.
Yeah. And the more I sort of looked into his sort of artwork, the more I wished I'd seen more, because he was just known for those murals, and they're all over the city.
We were supposed to be able to get into the National Palace.
Yeah.
And apparently there's a huge mural there.
Yeah, that's the most famous one.
That's also got your girlfriend.
Frida in it.
But there's also, for some reason we couldn't get in.
Well, nobody's allowed in except school children now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't realise that.
Yeah, and but there's also a Diego Rivera's museum where you can see them. So. But
I would have been really disappointed if we hadn't have gone.
I know. Yeah, we had a choice. Does people want to go? And everybody went, which was great. So that was our sort of walk around the city. Then we walked down, the main sort of street of Mexico City, and we arrived at the Palacio de Bellas Artes. That's another beautiful building where you can see more of Diego Rivera's murals. It's got a beautiful big sort of copper-coloured dome on top, and that's where the entrance to Alameda Park is as well. Yeah. Now we jumped on our bus from there. And drove down that sort of most famous street, Reformer Street, I think it is.
Yes,
and there's a big
correct. Yep.
statue of the angel, and some beautiful monuments down that big street.
Yeah, and that's along Alameda Park. Yeah. Unfortunately, we were supposed to get an opportunity to look more closely at Alameda Park.
But we ran out of time.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
It looked really,
lovely
really
green
cool.
area in the middle of the city.
Yeah, unfortunately we ran out of time.
Yep. And so we hopped on our bus and we went to the biggest and most visited museum in Mexico, which is the Museum of Anthropology. And look, Lyle and I aren't really museum people, but if you're going to go to a museum, you want to go where it's got the most visited, but the collection of artifacts from every
from all the civilizations, basically,
from Aztecs to the Mayans to the Zapotecs to all the above.
So there's basically dedicated
rooms, massive
chambers
rooms.
they call them, but they're just huge rooms with all their artifacts there. And look, I got to be honest, I was pretty impressed.
The one I liked about the thing I liked the most was the as you walk in, there's this massive, I don't know how many meters high it is, like I don't know, meters high, and there's it's like a big, they call it the umbrella, but it's more of a metal tree, and it does actually have like a carving on it, doesn't it? And all around the rim of that, there's just water cascading down.
I reckon it'd be about 10 meters.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah,
Check out the video on our story highlights on Instagram. Or there's lots of photos, obviously, of the museum on our website.
And obviously on the actual, I suppose
the carvings.
The carvings, they were...
How funny was it, though, when people were running in under the water to get photos and the police had come out every time, blow their whistle? That was funny. Yeah. So just quickly, the museum's collections include the Stone of the Sun, giant stone heads of the Olmec civilization that were found in the jungles of Tabasco and Veracruz, treasures recovered from the Mayan civilization at the sacred cenote and Chichen Itza, a replica of the sarcophagal lid from Pacal's tomb at Palenque, and ethnological displays of contemporary rural Mexican life. It's also has a model and location layout of the former Aztec capital of Tehuantepec. We're going to get that right, aren't we? The site of which is now occupied by, which is the central area of modern Mexico. So it shows you what it was like back in the day. It has permanent exhibitions on the ground floor that covers all the pre-Columbian civilizations located on the current territory of Mexico, as well as the former Mexican territory, what is today in the southwestern United States. So massive, right?
Yeah, it was a bit of a precursor for our actual tour because as we travel down through Mexico, we're going to visit a lot of these monuments that are displayed in the museum.
Yeah, it set us up really well for the rest of our tour. Okay, so the next day we headed off on our bus to Teotihuacan, and we were lucky enough that our guide said we could stop at the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, big deal. But tell us about that, because it's got some pretty interesting information. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. The site was founded in 1521. The Basilica is the most visited Catholic pilgrimage site in the world. And
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and the world's third most visited sacred site.
And that's because of the story of how, and it's got a picture of the original Virgin Mary hanging in the new modern church, right?
Yeah.
That they say. And you get it on a conveyor belt and you chug past that, right?
Yeah.
But how that picture came about is what's interesting. Yeah?
Yeah. Okay. So Mary told him to gather flowers from
he was just a normal guy, right?
And Juan Diego.
Right, and he was telling... some bigwig
an archbishop,
right? That he'd seen the Virgin Mary lots of times.
Altogether there was 5 times.
Okay, so he was telling and he said we need to build a church to the Virgin Mary, and so
that's what Our Lady had said to Juan, that she wanted them to build a church at this site. And she would be known as Guadalupe.
Right, and so then the archbishop said to Juan, okay,
I need proof.
Yeah, okay, buddy, off you go. You get me some proof, and we'll have a chat.
Yeah, okay. So She told him.
Juan,
Yeah, she told him to gather flowers from the summit of Tepeyac Hill, which was normally barren. Juan Diego obeyed all the instructions, and he found Castilian roses. Of course, they were Spanish roses, not native to Mexico.
Yeah.
According to the story, the Virgin arranged the flowers in Juan Diego's cloak.
Yeah, like wrapped them all up in the cloak and said,
And-
take them back to your Archbishop.
Yeah.
Juan.
And when he opened the cloak later that day, before the Archbishop, the flowers fell to the floor, revealing on the fabric the image of the Virgin of Guadalupe.
So that's why it's famous, right? And they're big on their stories here, aren't they, really?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that really stands out to me is that they're very, going back, centuries, back to the earliest, they're very religious. They're very, what's the word?
They just have very strong beliefs, whether it's, to the sun or to the moon or, to eagles eating serpents. That it's very, very strong.
Well, even as our guide said, that it was almost like propaganda that the rich and rulers, they basically said that for the the normal people to have as many children as they could.
Yeah, just so they could be slaves.
But the marketing ploy was to say that they were going to be close to God.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, they were there to build the monuments and make the rulers look.
Good.
Rulers.
But so there's 3 different churches on that site as well.
There was the original one, which is on top.
Yeah, the middle one.
The middle one, because it became so popular, they built another one
where you can actually see the Virgin
where
Mary.
It basically caters for about 30,000 people.
Yeah.
And around that area, you've got the Stations of the Cross. Look, to be honest, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is.
And as Leanne said earlier, you can actually go and see the original cloak.
Yeah.
And you get on a conveyor belt, so that you don't stand there forever, I assume.
Yeah, and keep moving on, and then you're out.
You keep on moving on, and then see you later motors. But look, I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I'm like, okay, we'll stop. But I was glad we did. It was great.
Yeah.
So then we hopped back on the bus, and we headed to Tehuantepec, which is really one of the main highlights for people who visit Mexico City because it's not that far away, but it's the first one we saw on our trip. It's like a vast site, isn't it?
Yeah.
Archaeological complex, and you've got a bit more sort of information on it, isn't it? Like
running down the middle of the site, which was once a flourishing pre-Columbian city, is the Avenue of the Dead,
which is about 3 kilometres long. And you can walk from one to the other. Yeah,
and they're not sure why they call it the Avenue of the Dead. They haven't found any dead bodies or anything like that. But
it links these 3 main temples.
Yeah, it links
pyramids.
the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, the Pyramid of the Moon, and the Pyramid of the Sun.
Yes.
It's unknown who built the ancient city.
And one of those ones, I can't remember which one it is. I think it's the Temple of the Sun is... the first one we saw was 65 metres. That's the biggest one.
Yeah. And as other areas became
excavated and discovered.
Well, basically, newly powerful cities in the regions impeded the flow of goods entering Teotihuacan, no longer able to sustain the needs of its domestic population. So basically, it's almost like a siege, the people around them. And one of the greatest mysteries of the Teotihuacan, isn't that? Teotihuacan, I still can't say it, is that no one knows where the huge population that lived here eventually ended up.
Yeah, like there's so much mystery still around all these things, isn't there? And,
what the guide said is there's a couple of things. One, there was a huge drought.
Yep.
Which meant...
Which you can imagine because it's dry as...
no,
I won't say that. It's very dry.
Yeah, you can't say that. Not after you've just done the...
Come on.
Yeah, all right. And there's another reason is that they painted the temples red.
Uh-huh.
and
Oh, yes, that's right.
right, and
That had some chemical in it.
yeah,
When it rained,
Yeah.
it washed into the water supply and poisoned them all.
Yeah. So I don't know how you can have it both ways, one a drought or that
rain, but
that rain.
It's all theories, but
there was also the fact that the Spanish brought with them the smallpox. So
luckily they didn't bring the big pox. Really?
Oh, Jesus.
We went to a restaurant last night where we had...
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Go on, tell.
We just had a drink called Pox, and I'm like, with milk. I'm like, oh, that's how I like mine. But anyway. But I was fascinated with this site because it was the first one, and you see all the pictures, and it's so stereotypical of Mexico, the ruins and stuff. We spent about 2 hours, didn't we, wandering around, and you can climb up some steps, and I saw one of the spots that that we'd seen at the museum. I saw that round the back of one of the main sort of temples. And we just wandered up the Valley of the Dead, or the Avenue of the Dead, and it was just, and you can sort of get a picture from up top. I've got some amazing photos of that site, and also videos in our story highlights on Instagram. But have a look at. I think I put way too many photos on the blog post. But anyway,
well, may I also say the following morning, my legs were so sore.
Yeah.
Because and this is another thing that I can't work out, is the steps. Like, they're very small people even now, right? And
because they were seats, right? So they all used to sit on the seats. Yeah, that was it. So it's more of
you still had to get up there.
I know, but that's what they were. Like, people would sit along there to view what was going on down the bottom.
Well, that was another interesting fact that our guide brought up about how the original... Oh, no, I can't say that.
No, okay. Why?
Because we're talking about that later.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So much information going in. All right, so after we went to Teotihuacan, we hopped back on the bus and headed to Cholula, where we stopped and had a bit of a look around, and... where we were staying overnight in the city right there called Puebla. Now, when we got there, we did walk around some more ruins there at Cholula. The main ones we wanted to see were still closed after COVID. So instead we walked up, and I think this is why your legs got sore as well.
Oh, that's right.
That massive steep hill. Like, there's this gorgeous, once again, check out the website, yellow basilica right on top of a hill. And those who wanted to could walk up it. I'm like, you can't not go up there. Like, it just looks stunning. Yeah,
two in one day.
Sure. And so up we went, up the steep walk to the Iglesia de Nuestra Señora. It's very steep. I was on a roll then. The name of the cathedral is the Iglesia de Nuestra Señora de los Remedios. And it's as beautiful inside as it is out, if not even more. It's not big inside. Once again, beautiful photos, but it's just stunning. It had like massive chandeliers almost, and beautiful stained glass and gold everywhere.
Yeah,
and
the
just
gold
had
plating.
The normal 2 sets of pews down the side. That was it. It was just beautiful. And then there's like a platform where you can get like a view of the city of Puebla. But what you can also see from there are the volcanoes, and I've got a picture of one of those volcanoes because one of them is still smoking.
It's active.
Yeah, smoking away there, isn't it?
Yeah. It was really impressive. I don't think I've ever seen as much gold plating in one compact area ever, and I don't think I've seen a more impressive church. In all the churches in Spain and all the rest of it. It wasn't big, but it was impressive.
It was. So then we walked down the hill, which was actually as difficult as going up almost.
It's because we got lost. Yeah, we went down one way, and the gate was locked, and we had to go back.
But also the infrastructure around Mexico, they don't have all the handrails and all the...
Oh, no.
You've
got to be brave.
Taking your life in your own hands a bit. But down we went, hopped on the bus. A few other people got lost at a pub, so we had to wait for them. Which I can't be angry because that's what we might have done if we were waiting as well.
I'll tell you what, I would have liked to have got lost.
Yeah. And then we headed into our hotel, the Hotel Colonial de Puebla, which was in another great location, another lovely hotel, wasn't it? Yeah. So we just quickly, dumped our stuff. It was late. We were hungry, and we just decided we were going to head off and find a nice little plaza to eat with another couple, our new friends, Peter and Cheryl.
Yep.
And it was just sort of around the corner, and there was this lovely plaza. Reminded us of Spain a bit, wasn't it? And we were sat outside, and there was a guy playing live music. Lyle's looking at me. He's like, "Which plaza was this?"
That's exactly what I'm looking at.
I know, no. It was where the kid was trying to sell us the cookies. Remember that one? That plaza was in Puebla.
Oh, yeah. One thing about Puebla, I've got to say, I was super impressed. I just think it was...
Yeah, well...
it was a lot more... Well, it appeared a lot more sophisticated than Mexico City.
Sure. Well, what I was going to say was...
not as many police.
What I was going to say was, so we had dinner, just an easy dinner, and into bed because we were exhausted after our climb. But the next morning, before we left Puebla, we did a bit of a walking tour around the city, and... We started on the rooftop of the hotel, which gave us 365-degree views. Now, Puebla is known as two things. One is the city of 365 churches, because I reckon you could every day you could find a new church to go to, and you can see them from all over from the rooftop, can't you? The domes and the towers. Yeah,
it was really intriguing, really.
And so then we went down and we did our walk to the main square, and that's where we saw the cathedral and the beautiful sort of plaza area in the middle of the city. But it is known actually as the City of Angels, which was founded in 1531 by the Spaniards. So we got some lovely photos there. We had a quick look in the cathedral, seen them all really. But yeah, it was nice. Same show another day sort of thing. And then we did a walk down a famous street called the Candy Street, and it's called the Candy Street because there's all these confectionery shops all the way down, but it's beautiful, it's pretty, it's got the most beautiful sort of decorations going across from one side to the other with the little bandanas sort of hanging down, and the shops are painted like pastel colours, and got some really pretty photos of that. And that took us down to another little plaza where we came across that street. And I can't remember the actual name of it, but, I'm calling it the Artist Street because that was where they had the little dome roofs, and every little shop had a different artist in there painting, and they had their artworks out the front and on the walls of their little shops, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was really cute. And then we obviously got back on the bus after. There's a few markets there. We had a bit of a wander around. I think I bought a couple of pairs of earrings.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. And we hopped on the bus where we headed off to Oaxaca. Now we checked into our hotel after dark there in Oaxaca. Which is, it's a long day. You don't get to really see the city. But our hotel there was amazing. An indoor pool and a beautiful, once again, restaurant up the top. But we just chucked our stuff and we found a restaurant down a couple of blocks down the street. It was the main square, the plaza, isn't it? With so much atmosphere. Actually, we had a nice night out then with some people, and we tried
that was with Cheryl and Peter.
Oh yeah, and we tried the local specialty, the mole.
Yes, we had the mole. Yeah. Leanne had the negro, the black one, and I had the red one. Yeah. And
so we had a nice night, but a nice local restaurant with the local cuisine and a few beers, and that finished our long day. Yeah.
Yeah, and then but remember they had live music. Remember, and we were the guy behind us. He was singing. He was great. And remember, we were going to play Spicks and Specks, Name That Tune, because he was singing quite, some American, not American, but some songs that you'll recognise, and singing, but in Spanish. Yeah. I actually loved it.
Yeah, it was great. But we were tired, and so we headed back to our hotel for a good night's sleep, ready for our next day. So this day was my birthday. And I was excited because I knew we would be going to Monte Alban, which is a pretty impressive archaeological site, isn't it?
It is.
And it wasn't that far. We hopped on the bus and off we went, and to the massive ruins of the former Zapotec stronghold and the Mixtec culture, yeah?
Correct.
Yeah. You want to tell us a bit about it, and then I'll tell you what I thought about it, if you like.
Okay. Besides being one of the earliest cities of the Mesoamerican,
Yes.
Monte Alban was important for nearly 1,000 years as a preeminent Zapotec social and political and economic centre.
Yeah, so pretty important, right?
Yeah. Basically, the partially excavated civil ceremonial centre is situated atop an artificial level ridge.
Yeah, they levelled it themselves.
Yeah, so they level it.
A big hill, and they take the top off the hill. Yeah.
Okay, and this is done. It has an elevation of about 1,940 metres or 6,400 feet above sea level.
Yeah.
And rises 40 metres or 1,300 feet from the valley floor. So it's way, way up high.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then they start building it.
I know.
Like, it's just, I just can't comprehend how many people it would take to build these monuments. And
its original construction was in the 8th century BC, so it's really old. Like,
yeah.
So,
and no wonder the rulers kept on saying that to the
people have more children.
The plebs to have more children, because it was the only way they were ever going to build these temples.
But it's got these great pyramids, you know, at each end and each side, and so far they've found 170 tombs underground.
Yeah.
And it's probably the most elaborate site that's been discovered anywhere in the Americas. You do feel like you're on top of the world. Like when you think about you're at 1,900 metres and then you're on top of the one of the Great Plaza, and then on the highest hill, and it's got 4 platforms on each side, and you feel like you're surveying the world from above. It's just spectacular.
So how do you compare? Like, you've been to Egypt, I haven't. How do you compare?
Well, I think the difference is of the size of this, right? Whereas Egypt, you know, you have a temple, and it's the carvings and the paintings and, you know, the intricacy of each temple. You know, they're more individualised. I guess Egypt, some of them are more impressive because they have colours and they've got the original artworks there, whereas a lot of the original artworks and things have been lost from these.
Yeah. So within the pyramids in Egypt, is there tunnels and you can go through?
No. Some people can go in. No, it's basically the outside. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, of the Great Pyramids of Petra.
Because these ones, what surprised me is no one lives there. They're just monuments.
Yeah.
They're just well, the people that do live there are the rulers and the administrators, but the normal folk, they only ever get to come in to listen to the rulers. And remember they were clapping?
Yeah, I do remember that. I've actually got some clapping. I might pop that in the podcast.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we haven't mentioned that our guide always talks about is, you know, we're saying how amazing they were, and you know, we just can't believe it. But they're all built to astrological
dimensions.
Yeah, right. And they had them set up so they knew when to plant the crops and when to pick the crops, and you know, like, and every building is in a precise location. They're not just willy-nilly buildings all over the place, right? You know, that one's on that side, and that corner at some time points to that one, and you know, so it's all planned out. You know,
geometrically.
And they showed how they could follow the stars. They had this big sort of water pit where, you know, like they could get the reflections and you know, they could map the stars and what was going on in the sky. That's amazing, right? You know, not only are the buildings amazing, but how they set them up to actually be like a whole calendar and that was amazing. So we wandered around there for a while, and I just really, it was a nice place to spend a birthday, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it was special. Just going back to that clapping thing. That what our guide would do, he would clap, and there was like an echo would come back,
and it sounded like a bird. An
ancient bird. But what they said is they designed them that way so that when the ruler spoke, it was like a natural
amphitheatre or whatever. So clever.
It was all to be, you know, basically likes having speakers there.
Yeah, so clever. Yes, that sort of took up the morning, and I just love that. We hopped back on the bus and back into town. I think by this time the guide was getting a bit sick of, counting people and people complaining that they've been left behind or we're not waiting or whatever. And he just basically said, 10 to 12 back at the bus. That's it. Sort yourselves out. Which I make it sound a bit harsh, but that's basically what we got to, which is great. And we're not all sort of waiting for everyone else to arrive. You just take yourself to the bus. So when we got back, we dumped whatever we could at the hotel, and we went for a bit of a walk around the town. And there's two markets that are really well known in Oaxaca, and one of them is basically a sort of arts and crafts market, and the other one's a food market, and they're right next to each other. And luckily we had a guide to follow around like sheep. There's just our aisles are narrow, they're full of people, they're full of produce, they're full of colour, they're full of sounds, they're full of smells. Honestly, a bit intimidating.
They were definitely full of smells.
Yeah, well, the food one was, and they just had, they had meat, and they had lots of tortillas, and just
very little refrigeration.
Very little refrigeration, and everyone wanted to sell you crickets. Dried crickets with chili, they can't understand why you don't want to buy that. So we did. We wandered around that, took a few photos. We didn't buy anything, and we decided we'd leave the group when they went off to look at the chocolate being made. And because it was my birthday, we wanted to go and sit in the plaza and have a few beers and watch the world go by, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we did that. We found this nice little place to sit.
But on the way back, you found some...
Oh, yes, I did, but they might still be a surprise. Now, I found some nice Mexico football shirts.
See.
Yeah, only a couple, so I haven't got enough yet. That's the one I'm buying for my grandsons. If I can find more, that would be great. But yeah, there was a guy playing guitar, and I asked him to sing a Mexican Happy Birthday. Which was really nice. We tipped him pretty well for that. And I had some guacamole, and was delicious. But Lyle was starting to feel a bit sick in the tummy, weren't you?
I was. So maybe after the mole.
Mole. But you weren't too sick to have a beer, but too sick to eat. So
Well, it was your birthday.
I know. So yeah, we sat there for a while. Look, there's people wandering past in traditional costumes. They're walking around with baskets on their heads. There's kids running around trying to sell you necklaces. There's people with the most outlandish outfits on. It's just mind blowing sitting there watching people watching.
Chaos. I don't know whether it's organised chaos, but it is chaos.
Yeah.
But there's a definite different feel.
Yeah.
Sitting there, and absolutely fabulous people watching.
Yeah. So because Lyle wasn't feeling well, headed back, had a bit of an afternoon nap. It didn't improve his mood, I was going to say. It didn't improve how he felt.
No, fair enough. That mood felt the way I felt.
Luckily, Peter and Cheryl were there to take me out for dinner. And
yes, they were.
We just stayed in the hotel, which was really nice. Actually, I had salmon, and they brought out a little bit of birthday cake, and halfway through the meal there was a wedding parade go past, and they've got the gigantes heads and people playing music, and it was a real party atmosphere. And so that was really nice. I had a wonderful birthday. It's very different for sure. Anyway, so really enjoyed that. Yeah. You didn't though, did you?
Well, I did enjoy it up until I just sort of didn't realise it until I sat down and we went to order lunch, and I thought I don't think I can eat anything. And then I thought, well, I'll have a beer, because that was what our plan was, to sit back and just watch the people. And I had the first beer, and I thought, oh, that's not bad. But then I started just getting worse and worse. And then, as Lan said, we went back to the room, and I did get dressed to go out. I got down the stairs, and I thought, no, I'm not going to be able to do this. And I knew that if I had gone, all Liam would have done is worried about how I was, and hopefully not given the bug to someone else. So I just went straight back to bed. But it was only a 24-hour thing.
And you're right. So I went home, sleep, and ready for our next day. Right, next morning, we didn't have to head off too early. We were going from Oaxaca to Tehuantepec, and our first stop was El Tule, which is a gigantic 2,000-year-old tree. And I was thinking, a big deal. However,
I gotta say, I was with you.
Yeah,
I
right?
thought a tree's a tree.
Yeah. It was impressive. And not just the tree, the surrounds, the gardens around that. It was a beautiful little complex, beautiful gardens. And then, have one of those lovely big signs, El Tule, and then there's like the council building, and they were playing music. And then the tree is like, all these places you go to, there's like a little wire fence if they don't want you to go there. But El Tule has 2 big fences around it, so they really are looking after this tree. Like some most infrastructure I've seen around
It's 2,000 years old.
Yeah. But they're not looking after. I find it amazing, like just the way they don't touch, and if a branch is sort of falling over a bit, they put out a guard so you can't even touch the leaves of it. So, but we wandered around that, and there was this lovely this young kid that our guide gets when he goes there to point out all the different animal shapes and things on the because it's got this, I think it's got the biggest circumference of any tree or something. And, it takes 30 people holding hands to get round it. But
good research, honey.
No, I remember.
Yeah. Sure.
He said, and so he gets these young kids to go around with his laser pointer and show all the shapes in the gnarly sort of bark and trunk. Yeah. And that was really quite fun, like walking around and these young kids, and we all tipped him, and he thought it was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Yeah. He was 13.
Okay, well, he was a little 13, wasn't he? But that was...
Yeah, but they're all little.
Yeah, that's true. I just really enjoyed that. I just thought that was something really unique, and I'm glad I saw it. Actually, got some really nice pics of it. It was pretty cool. One of the guys on our tour is really into famous trees, and apparently there's the tallest, there's a this, there's a that, and this is in the top 8 in the world of trees to visit.
And what's his name?
That is Lyle. Yeah, there's another Lyle. Can you believe that on the trip? Another one. Because every time I go Lyle, because we're not sitting together on the bus because we've got enough seats, they both answer me, which is quite funny. He said, "You sound just like my wife." I'm like, "No, that'd be like if I said Lyle." Anyway, so that was El Tule, the gigantic 2,000-year-old tree. Well, I thought it was really cool. Yeah. Then we're back on the bus and we hit another archaeological site, Mitla. It's probably the least impressive one we've seen. However, it wasn't that big, but it's really old, like that one. And they call it the place of the dead, so that, or the underworld. So it's a bit creepy. And there's native or indigenous people that actually have turned some of the temples into houses for themselves.
That's right.
Yeah. But we did a nice little short tour around that, and there was some more.
It was really, really hot.
It was hot, but there were some stairs to climb up and some columns, and some I got some nice photos again. And I think because it was so hot, we were all in a bit of a hurry, and we had a fair bit to get through that day as well. So
but I think also, to be fair, I think we were at that point sort of getting over ruins, and I think the combination of being a bit tired, seeing a whole bunch of ruins and it being so hot, I just wanted to get back on the bus. Yeah, we did, because we get on the bus and we just go to sleep. But then, like the next place we were stopping at was to see the rooks. The rooks?
Yeah, the rooks.
The rooks?
Yeah.
You mean the rugs?
I do mean the rugs, yeah. Poor old Tacho, he was using the Spanish pronunciation for rug, so the U in Spanish is U, so it's a rugs, but it sounded like rocks. I'm like, we're going to see rocks? Like, what are you talking about? Anyway, it was so that's become a bit of a joke, and it's a bit funny. He's enjoyed that. And I was going to stay on the bus. I thought, I don't want to go and look at a local family making rugs, like, honestly. But I thought, oh well, it's hot. The driver's getting off. I'll have to get off. So we wandered in, and I have to say, wasn't that fascinating?
I reckon that if it wasn't my favourite, I'm not sure what was. I like you, I was and we'd seen on one of the documentaries something similar.
Right. Have we? On the rugs? Okay.
And
I don't remember that. I remember seeing the next thing we're going to talk about, the mezcal. But
anyway, what the rugs were is what really intrigued me. She had a cactus.
Well, hang on, let me start from the beginning, right? When we get there, they've got seats for us all to sit. And what she does, is this lady, is, and I should remember her name, but I don't. She goes through the process of how they get the wool.
Oh, that's right.
Right? And, she's got her daughter there sort of, using those two paddles to sort of thin the wool out. And then she showed us how they weaved it and how they put it into strands. And then...
How they washed it?
Yeah, how they washed it. They just get a root of one of the native trees and she, shook her hand in the water and it went all bubbly, So that washes the wool and makes it soft. And then after that, it's sort of a really natural colour. And then she had all the colours it's got all these skeins of wool hanging down. I've got pictures of those as well, from the brightest blues that you can imagine, and the purples and reds and vivid colours, yellows and greens, and all of the colours are from natural products, right?
Correct.
And she showed us what Lyle was getting at, is that she had a big leaf of a cactus, and on that there was like a insect eating, right? And you can see the little holes where it's eaten. She took that insect off that leaf, put it on her hand, and squashed it. And it was instantly a bright red.
Yes.
And she said that's how we get our red colour. Then she put, I don't know, baking soda?
No, lime.
Oh, yeah, lime juice on it.
Lime juice. And it went purple.
Yeah, bright purple.
And like instantly.
And then she put some...
baking soda.
And it went bright blue.
Yeah.
Like, we were all sitting there with our mouths open. It was fascinating.
Yeah.
And then she showed us like pomegranate. She uses dried pomegranate for the a certain colour. Chamomile for yellow. I can't even remember what. Moss for the green colours. And she had them all there. And she showed us then. She put she was doing a yellow, so she put that into the water that she had boiling and showed us. If you want more colour, you leave it longer. And then she hung it up to dry. And then she took us over to where they weaved it, and I should know the name of the machine they use for the weave, the loom. She said it's a great big wooden contraption, and she said, it was my father's before me, and it was his mother's before him, and
it was over 100 years old.
Yeah, it's been handed down, and they're all part of it. And then of course you get taken to the place where all the rugs are hanging up, and table runners and all sorts of stuff that, well, I'm sure other people have made as well, and it's a bit of a sales thing there. But we did buy a mat because we don't have any mats, and we bought a nice blue coloured one to put somewhere in our little apartment. But that was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, as I said, if it wasn't my favourite, it was my second favourite part of it. I was so fascinated.
Yeah, it was, and she's her English and her explanations were amazing.
Yeah, she was brilliant.
Yeah, she was so good, and so I'm glad we went there. And lastly, on that day, we headed to the
Mezcal.
Mezcal brewery tour. Now, we had seen these on documentaries, so we knew what to expect. But it's pretty cool. It's obviously a bit of a tourist factory there, because there was about 4 or 5 buses, and they've got different guides. But they take you and show you what the plants, the agave plants, and then they show you that when they cut all the leaves off the agave plants, you're left with this big sort of oval thing, which is like they call it a pineapple. They chuck the pineapples in a pit and they burn. I don't know for how long, I can't remember. And then they take them out and they're all soft and gooey, and then what they do with that sort of fibrous stuff is, and we tasted that, it was like, you still weren't 100%, but it was actually quite sweet. And then they put that into a great big round circle with a horse pulling a wheel, and the horse goes round and round and squashes it all down. And then there's a guy with a pitchfork, and as the horse squashes it, I don't know where the horse shit goes, actually.
I got to tell you, it's very hygienic.
I don't know where that went. Well, once it gets alcohol, everything's going to die. Anyway, so he's digging out the fibrous stuff, and then that goes into vats with water, with heat, and then it distills and it drops out into a container, and then they put it into casks, and it's then aged for however long, right? And
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
The what is it? The guava plant? What do you call it?
Agave.
Agave.
Yes.
Is that their word for cactus?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, the agave is the one with all the spiky leaves on it.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah. No, agave is, we grow agaves in Australia. I guess they're a type of succulent, but they're not the cactus you're talking about, prickly pear. Yeah? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. No, different. Anyway, thanks for that question. You obviously weren't paying attention in class. Anyway.
I wasn't well.
No, you weren't well. But someone told you that mezcal fixed everything, right?
Yes.
And so we had a tasting. I got no nose hairs left, or
Well, not the long ones anyway.
No, that was pretty handy though. And we didn't buy any. It's not our sort of thing. But people did buy some, and like they had chocolate ones and all that sort of stuff. I'm sick of carrying stuff in and out of suitcases, to be honest.
And I'm going to tell you, it is not true. The legend that it fixes everything.
But you came good though.
I did.
I
did come good.
Yeah, but that was interesting, and you can't come to Oaxaca and not go to a brewery and see where they make mezcal, how they do it. So, but it was a long day, and we didn't get to our hotel till 7 p.m, so it was dark. And the hotel was sort of in the middle of nowhere in Tehuantepec, and there was like four other coaches, I think, there. So it's obviously the stop on the tourist run, and we just had dinner at the hotel.
With Sharon Peter?
Yeah. Well, everyone was there we just all sat down. Everyone from the bus tour was there. And, we went to bed early. It was because we had to be on the bus by 6. I think. Yep, yeah. So we had to have everything out by 20 to 6. There was coffee available in the foyer in the morning, and we had a boxed lunch, which was a paper bag with a couple of sandwiches in it. So that was a long day. So that's the end of our first sort of half of our trip. As you can see, it's been varied. It's been fascinating. It's been tiring. It's been exhausting. It's been,
busy.
Busy. But let's just do a quick summary before we finish off, Lyle. Yeah. Okay. So lots of travelling. Yeah, but we knew that. Like, there's nothing. If you look at the tour. Itinerary, they tell you how far you're going each day and that sort of thing. But the good side of that was sleeping on the bus has been so easy.
Yeah.
We've just got our U-Butte neck pillows and we just go off to sleep. It's fabulous, don't we? And we wake up and we're there. It's been so good. All the hotels except the last one, but we weren't staying there anyway, have been in great locations.
Yeah.
And, I'd have to say they're pretty good. I mean, some things are a bit amiss, but you get that in most hotels, I guess. We've got nice big king beds and, anyway. But the fact they're in a good spot, the breakfasts have been, I was going to say average, but I'd actually say shithouse.
Yeah, I concur. It's been...
They call it American breakfast, like the orange juice is fabulous. The coffee, okay. But what they call American breakfast is scrambled eggs and 2 rolls of cold ham. And it's cold, the eggs are unedible. And when they bring you a piece of toast, that's about the best thing you're going to expect for breakfast. Yeah. So, unfortunately, And
unfortunately, we don't normally eat breakfast anyway, so it's not a big deal for us.
But the guide is aware, and he's, ringing ahead, just sort of telling them to, we need a bit.
He's basically being very apologetic about it. He gets it. It's just the way it is.
There's not a lot of free time at all. Actually, we've taken time off from a tour this morning just so we can get our podcast done because we just haven't found the time to do it. But then that's what a lot of people like. There's some people travelling on their own, so they don't really want a lot of free time. They want to be seeing stuff.
And at this particular point in time, I'm looking at our motel room, and it's beautiful sunshine, and I'm looking forward to going out
and sitting
in
the garden,
a bit of a read of a Jack Reacher book
in the garden.
And I'm thinking that's going to be.
And then
perfect.
we're going to wander up around the main square and stuff later because it looks like we went up last night.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It looks nice, and it's definitely warmed up.
Yeah. people are starting to, like after a few days, they're starting to open up, don't they?
Sure.
You know, get to chat to people. There's people from all over the country.
Liam was opening up on the first day, but everybody else is taking it to 7.
The bus driver is amazing. Like getting the bus in and out of some of the spots, is great.
Yeah.
The tour guide,
I'd give him 15 out of 10.
yeah, he's great. Tacho, really nice guy, great information. I think initially he was a little bit too kind to people. You know, he needed to probably round us up a little bit more.
But I sort of thought about that.
Yeah.
You know, to be frank, I think he has to be.
Yeah.
He's a little bit of a babysitter to start with.
Yes.
And because he's got to be able to cater to all the different personalities and that
Yeah.
sort of thing and not offend them.
Yeah.
But I think he got the drift that we will start, you know, some of the other people were starting to get sick of having to wait for everybody else.
Yeah, and we're going to talk more about some of the problems in a bonus episode.
Yeah, but
You know,
I think
he's great though. Is what we're trying
I
to
think
say.
he's got to, like, 2 days he's given them,
Yeah.
and then after that 2 days, these are the rules.
Right, you're going to follow the rules. Yeah. The other thing is there's so much to take in, so much, and I'm actually glad that we had to do the podcast because we've been taking notes and and notice of things that I'm sure others haven't had the chance to do that. Yeah, I'd say that's actually.
I wouldn't be surprised if people on this tour, after the tour, actually listened to this podcast.
Yeah.
And said, "Did we do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember that."
Yeah, really did that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Anyway, that's the end of our first week traveling around Mexico, and next episode we hit the Yucatan Peninsula, and I know I got it right this time, and so we're going to tell you all about that in our next episode. So until then, it's goodbye and hasta luego from him,
hasta luego.
and it's goodbye from me.